Let's jump to this next story from TMZ. I love this. TMZ, great reporting here. Ex-Trump officials refute DOD claim. 3 had flown here before. Yo, TMZ hits the nail on the head. They're like, look, we have several guys who would know. Former Director of National Intelligence, former Secretary of Defense, and former Secretary of State all saying no balloons flew over the U.S. during the Trump administration. So this weekend, I'm looking at my phone and I see a story breaking. 3 balloons fly over the U.S. during Trump administration. I thought to myself, well, if we're wrong, we'll own up to it. We'll go on the show and say, we stand corrected because we said under Trump, this never would have happened. And if it did, he'd have shot him down. And now here it is. Wait a minute. What's this? An anonymous official said in some report. So we have no evidence. Nobody saw it happen. Nobody reported it. No pilots, no aviation experts, no aviation industry individuals, like not a single photographer. No one ever saw anything like this happen. No one's reported, and three officials have refuted it. I knew if I waited 10 minutes, the story would be debunked. And now here we are. Fake news.
Well, so they double speak in the statement. They say 3 undetected balloons went across the United States. Well, if they're undetected, dumbass, how do you know they came across the United States? Meaning you, if this is true, you did detect them, but you didn't tell the commander-in-chief about it? Well, what's that called? Treason.
Well, the official anonymous quote is, Chinese balloons briefly transited the continental United States at least 3 times during the prior administration.
Undetected. Well, somebody detected them.
Just Mike Pence making stuff up. I'm joking.
But we didn't say anything. But here's my favorite part. So these 3 officials come out and they say it's not true. Right. So the Biden administration just came out and said this morning? They said, we only just discovered it happened now, and we will brief former Trump officials on this. Get the out of here. It's
you guys didn't detect them, but we have detected them, and now we'll let you know.
Right. Because they have the Osiris device, which allows them to look at this giant crystal and rewind time and look at the skies previously through, so they can look in the past and the future.
Dude, I'm having these visions of being in the Oval Office running this because this is so more and more. It's actually really happening to me. I'm like, okay, this is what it looks like. These are the documents that you get in the morning. I mean, I could have some I'm ready. What this? I cannot sit by as old man 85 gets elected another. Yeah.
John, do you think your kids are better liars than this?
My kids are better. Yeah, my kids
take over.
My kids' lie would stick up longer than that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But look, we might get it. But how many people, like the Krasensteins, for instance, are ignoring the fact that 3 former officials said no, it didn't happen. They don't care. They are satisfied with one anonymous official saying it happened. Boom, there it is. It happened. And I'm like, okay, well, I have 3 named officials and the simple fact that there's no evidence to suggest this didn't happen. Yeah. But I got to tell you, Ian, I think they're in the Oval Office and Biden sit there and he's like, hey, just say it happened under Trump. And they were like, ooh, that's a good one. Okay. And then they call up their favorite journalists and say, hey, here's the story. And they go, you got it. And they run it.
Yeah. I wonder if the journalists call them. They're like, we'll just say it happened under Trump. And they're like, thanks.
They call the journalists and say, I got a tip for you.
I mean, so their anonymous official says this, but we know not long ago, 51 actual officials said that the Russia thing was true. 51 of them. Remember that? All 51 of these big dogs saying, oh, no, this whole Russia, it's not a hoax. It's not a hoax. Of course, we found out it absolutely was a hoax. But now it's an anonymous official. Nobody wants to put their name on it. So, I mean, what does that even mean? They think we're stupid, and unfortunately, fortunately for us, we're not. I think there's a lot of Americans that want to go, what's the big deal? It's a stupid balloon. Well, those are the people you really can't help at this point. But for the rest of us who are thinking people and know what's really going on in the world, and we know what the dangers are, that's a big, big deal to see something like that. You're talking about a communist Chinese enemy of the United States floating a militarized vehicle all the way across the mainland. It came 50 miles north of Nashville.
Wow.
It came right north. No, it was too far out. It was 50 miles out of Nashville. But I mean, for that to be going on in 2023, it almost seems like, like I said earlier, there are people in this country that want to see America go down. They want to see it happen. The second anybody listening to this, you're looking at the situation going, I can't believe people are that stupid. I can't believe these people are that inept. They're not stupid and they're not inept at all. Mm-hmm. It's all calculated. It's all part of it. Again, you can't have one world money, one world medicine, one world militaries, as long as America is standing up on both feet. America has to be reaching up for a hand. What's the only way any person can reach up to something? They have to be lower than whatever it is they're reaching up to. Well, America's not lower than anybody right now. You got to put America down on a knee. What's a good way to do that? Oh, I don't know. Let some balloons float across the country and turn the lights out one time. Just an idea.
In 2012, I went to the largest hacker convention, DEF CON and Black Hat, and it happened about the same time, August, in Las Vegas. And at the so DEF CON is, well, I got some choice words for the people at DEF CON these days. I won't go there ever again. But it used to be legit hacker community stuff. Now it's just like overrun with woke fear. There's also another conference called Hackers on Planet Earth. They did somewhat of a better job, but the woke people have really overrun the hacker community, and they're not even really hackers. But anyway, I digress. I was there in 2012, and Black Hat is more corporate, cybersecurity and things like that. And a couple of guys were doing a demonstration on how a single, and this is 2012, mind you, a single commercial drone that costs $200 could have a transmitter placed on it that, if flown within 40 miles of any kind of plant with some kind of receiver on it, it could send a signal and destroy it. Just that. These other guys did a demo of how to blow up a fluid processing plant. This could be crude, it could be petrochemical, it could be water. And basically what they said was, with a few lines of code injected into their systems, because they're like insecure systems from the 70s, you could make the machine direct the fluid in the same direction, causing a massive pressure buildup and then a pipe burst, which would disable a water plant or blow up a petrochemical plant. And they did a demonstration where they were like, here's how they're called industrial control systems. They're like, here's how it works. The machine says the fluid shall go in this direction. When one tank needs to be changed or whatever, the fluid might go in the other direction. This is a common, mechanism in a lot of these plants. If both are turned on at the same time via a hack, the pressure in the center will build up and the pipe will burst. And then what they did was they had a pressure release valve. So when they show the flow of fluid going back and forth, they then press the button which hacks it, and then they hold out a mug and the water sprays out and they catch it, saying that would have been an exploded pipe, but we had a pressure release valve, so it just sprays water on us. So you got to think about what a balloon could really do and what our understanding of it is. We don't even know the capabilities of the military. They're not going to tell us. They're going to keep it a secret. So there could be good reason why they didn't shoot this thing down. And fair point. It may have been knee-jerky of us to be like, it should be shot down immediately. I mean, Jack Posobiec said so. Fair point, though. Maybe he's also right in that whatever they may have on it, it may be better off dropping in Montana or Alaska, like you mentioned, than flying outside of Nashville. But I wonder if that's based on our surface level knowledge and understanding of what could be on the balloon. For all we know, there was a explosive on it. When they say explosive, what if it was, okay, let's go a little bit far-fetched. Do you guys know about the concept of antimatter bombs? You probably do, right?
When you take a particle and an antiparticle and you put them together, it creates intense explosive heat.
Theoretically,
I think it's explosive.
If they were able to contain small quantities of matter and antimatter, you could make a very, very small bomb with the force of like megatons. Relatively small. I don't know the actual size. I'm not a physicist. So theoretically, if you could contain it properly, this is next level technology, weapons technology. They could have been thinking, it's not an explosive like TNT. It's an explosive like a megaton radioactive bomb.
It says that 1/2 gram of antimatter reacting with 1/2 gram of ordinary matter would result in 21.5 kilotons, equivalent of the atomic bomb over Nagasaki that dropped.
And that's a gram?
Yeah, half a gram of each.
Right.
Yeah, 1
so
gram.
1 gram of material. 1 gram. Wow. think about so 1/1000th of a kilogram. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about, I mean, a ridiculously, a gram. People know what a gram is.
140/50th of a pound.
Microscopic. Now imagine if they had an actual pound of this stuff. I don't know if they do. Producing antimatter is extremely difficult to do. And that's to be contained, I think, in a magnetic ring. But, hey, look. Do we think that technology from the 70s is the epitome of weapons tech these days? Like, they built ICBMs and we're like, all right, we got these nukes. That's it. We're done. You know, that Russia's rolling out the Satan II missile, the tsunami bomb or whatever as well. Is that it? Or do they actually, like, are they going to publicly announce Russia's like, here's our doomsday weapon, here's how it works, here's what it does?
I was just listening to someone quoting Yuri Bezmenov, the Russian, I don't know if he's a philosopher or military strategist exactly, but he's noted as like turning away from the Communist Party and I think kind of revealing their plans to the Americans, to the world.
Ex-KGB.
Ex-KGB. He said that it used to be that it was easier to control 1 million people than kill them. But today it's easier to kill 1 million people than control them. That rings in my head, that thought that it's,
it's hard to know,
the
man.
darkest among us would have that in mind.
Part of what I think about all this stuff is maybe nuclear technology really was the pinnacle, the epitome. There are long periods of human history where technological development stagnates. I look at the culture of America and how it's kind of been stagnant. I'm like, well, maybe we had this big boom with discovery of petroleum and this massive energy output, and now we're easing back into the stagnation where for hundreds of years culture remained relatively the same. You lived the same life your grandparents did, and that changed in the early 1900s with the Industrial Revolution. But maybe we're going back to that. And there's going to be a long period of stagnation where, you look at warfare, they used muskets for hundreds of years. Hundreds. And for us, in like the span of 100 years, we've made some crazy weapons. We got lasers, we got rail guns, we got active denial systems. We kind of went nuts. Maybe we now level out and everything kind of plateaus, and maybe nukes are it. And there's not a great technology to fear.
Explosions don't really scale up. Like if you want to hit a target, if the explosion's so big, it's going to go beyond the target, scale the target. So more explosion isn't necessarily better explosion. So I think that nuclear has not really capped out. Like you're saying, a gram of energy could do a nuclear bomb. I'm concerned about like vibration weapons and things that can like make things fall apart at the atomic scale and stuff that we've never heard of or conceived of.
Well, I think that would require breaking apart like fundamental forces, right? If you're going to break something apart at the atomic scale, you're talking about breaking apart.
Or the molecular scale is a little bit better, a little easier, I think. Ripping atoms apart, like ionization and stuff like that.
Oxidization.
Rapid oxidization. Stuff.
Fire is a simple example.
An EMP kills more people ultimately than any nuke.
That's
what could.
You were saying
if it was an EMP, we lose instantly. Like they hit the right place.
Every single military look at that situation has said, if it was nationwide or close nationwide, they estimate after a year, 10% are still alive. And the problem with all of our big electrical substations that are around the U.S., they're all totally different because they're built to handle that amount of power, that kind of distribution. They're all very specific and unique the way they're built. And most of them are built overseas, of course, and it's a 12 to 18 month wait to get one built and sent over here.
Do you know where they're built?
Germany. China is now building them. Of course, China's building our electrical substations. It was Germany, China, and it was another country, but it's not here. We're not building them here. I don't know. It's just like we don't make antibiotics here.
You said that the Chinese government's been building American electrical substations?
They are now taking contracts to build them, yeah. Oh, Lord. But my point is, to your point, you're talking about this giant explosion is not necessarily the way to go. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if you really wanted to take a country over, you don't want to destroy the whole place. You just want to cripple it. Knocking out your lights. Americans wouldn't know what to do.
Dude, and
the power went out.
All the ammo that American civilians have, like if the Chinese could get us to turn on each other and waste all that ammo, and that would, obviously, it's pure Sun Tzu, art of war. You get your enemy to fight itself kind of thing. False orders.
There's these viral videos coming out of Ukraine that I don't know if they're real, showing soldiers kidnapping young men. Kidnapping, conscription, call it whatever you want to call it. It could be propaganda videos. There are these videos that have gone viral where it shows a crew filming a fake war scene, and then they're like, "Aha, we caught Ukraine staging fake videos." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that could be Russia making a fake staged video. Like, I don't know who to trust." But I see videos, and you see soldiers grabbing a guy, and they claim it's Ukrainian soldiers are going to the homes of young men and taking them. And I'm willing to believe it because, of course, they do. Conscription is the natural state of war and always has been around the world forever. If you lived somewhere, they would go to you and say, you fight for us or you're fighting against us. And if you're fighting against us, we're locking you up. So in the event the power goes out, this country is not equipped culturally, mentally, and socially to deal with real conflict. And that is, what you saw in World War II, the U.S. Office of Censorship. Yeah, that ain't going to fly in this country right now. Women doing certain jobs, meats being sent overseas to the troops, people being conscripted. You better believe if we go to war, the draft is coming back. Everybody. And we talk about, well, you've got to be between 18 and 26 to be drafted. They will draft anybody and everybody if the war is legitimate. If the war is real enough.
World War II, they were grabbing them into their 30s.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a dude, and not only that, it's like you're fit, you're going to war, baby. Because either that or we cease to exist. And it's easy for us right now in this golden period, or what may have been, to just be like, we can't have it, we don't need it. Well, yeah, the U.S. it was a unipolar superpower. We owned and controlled everything, but that's going away right now. We go back to the way things used to be. This country is not equipped. China drops an EMP on this country, and you are going to have, oh man, part of me just really would love to see the reaction from the woke left and the socialist young millennials and Gen Zers when they're like, but I don't understand why I can't have food. And it's like, because there isn't any.
Well, you
Good
wouldn't
luck.
see it, Tim, because you're not going to be able to turn on your iPhone or your laptop to see what they're saying because there's no electricity.
But I got to be honest. I think we will all suffer, people in this room. The people listening, though, probably going to have electricity. Not every single person, mind you. But see, the people I hang out with, they build Faraday cages. And microwaves are also Faraday cages. And I know people who have put microwaves in Faraday cages and buried it with phones and laptops in it. So a lot of people on average are probably going to be caught off guard by this. But you go out to the middle of nowhere and people got gas generators. So an EMP hits the central grid. It's not going to hit every little house in the middle of nowhere. That little house in the middle of nowhere, power goes out, their generator kicks on, and they're like, I wonder what just happened. Turn on the TV, they're seeing limited news reports because, I mean, if the EMP hit every single city, maybe they'd see something. But there's going to be some communications technologies. However, the cities will lose their hub status. And then all of a sudden,
people, where are they going?
Well, this is going to be a funny thing. People are going to be looking for news. New York gets knocked out. Chicago, LA gets knocked out. All the cities. Let's say China's able to knock out the grid in the major cities, most of them. There will still be some news coming out from some because they're not going to get every single one. Let's be realistic. But all of a sudden, you're going to see conservative blogs are the only ones up and running sharing information. And that's all you'll get. Because you got generators, you got your own power, you're off the grid. Not to mention preppers. You're going to have some prepper guy and he's going to take over the airwaves and be like, I'm what you got for now until they can kick this stuff back on.
I bet, though, that whatever's running the government would have so many backups upon backups and that they would just start churning out propaganda in a situation like that, making your phone buzz even though you're like, how's it ringing? I don't even have a connection. But it's like, everything is okay. Stay in your house. The president says everything's okay, and you're like, oh, my God.
Remember the Hawaii missile strike thing that went out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. People in Hawaii got an alert on their phone saying a missile was detected coming from North Korea, like shelter in place or whatever.
It was an accident. It wasn't on purpose.
It's like, it's all over, and people were like, oh, we're going to get nuked.
Yo, this is a terrifying conversation.
No, listen. that phone test, when that message went out, I don't think it was an accident.
No, I don't think it was either.
I think they wanted to see the reaction people would have, how the economy would be impacted. They wanted the data.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, you might be right, actually. Yep. They have done stuff like that in the past with the Tuskegee experiment. I mean, they'll just use people as guinea pigs or pawns. Is it still PC to call people guinea pigs these days? This is a conversation we should have. This is terrifying.
No, it's racist.
Okay,
yeah, dude.
Good. But
Peter's coming after you tomorrow.
This is a conversation that Joe Biden should be having publicly with us.
Well, That's right. That's why we're bringing this up. It's a stupid balloon floating across the country is how a lot of people see it. So what? It's a stupid balloon. They're not understanding what that actually could be at some point.
Trojan horse.
Right.
They see the big gift horse come up and they're like, oh, it's just a wooden horse. Let's bring it on in. And then a bunch of troops come out, start killing everybody. It's a balloon. Who cares? It's a surveillance balloon. Oh, I had people actually saying like, well, didn't China say that it was just like a civilian thing? And I'm like, oh, come on.
Let's not even China?
Right. Let's not even play that
China
game.
said it.
Oh, yeah. You know where
they make all of our stuff, so they have to be reliable.
Right. But also their civilian labor force is connected with the CCP directly, the way that it interfaces. So anything civilian in China that's run by the CCP is basically run by the CCP.
Yeah. I think my brother was saying that. He was like, isn't everything in China the CCP anyway? And I'm like, yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah, it is.
There's no civilian. So this is the thing you got to watch out for, actually. It's not going to be a fighter jet that flies over from China shooting at us. It's going to be a gigantic... You know, Don Jr. tweeted the baby Trump balloon. It's going to be that. It's going to be Barney. And people are going to be like, look at this. there's a balloon that got blown off course and it's Barney, and then all of a sudden it's going to pop and it's going to spray down acid all over a bunch of people. Or something
The thing that gives me hope, and it's still dark hope, but is that the CCP is like capitalist. They're extremely hyper-capitalist businessmen, and they want a trade relationship with the United States. I see no world in which they would attack the United States, or that the United States would attack China. It makes no sense. There will be border infringements, like taking Taiwan, us, the Iraq thing wasn't really a border infringement, but we should, if the United States were to annex Mexico, for instance, and then it was the United States of North America, or whatever we become, or something like that. But I see no reason for us to go to conflict. It would annihilate every major city in China would get annihilated with nuclear weaponry. Every major city in the United States. It would be not good for anybody, including Xi Jinping and his buddies.
Yeah, that's why they're taking over Africa.
Yep.
With money, economically. It's all this economic stuff, resources and economics. And then if they can get us to buy their products with their money, I think that's the ultimate goal.
China is like actively working in a lot of ways to already control America, right? Like there are a number of senators who have introduced legislation trying to stop basically entities of the CCP from buying agricultural land in America. This is like one of the big ways that China doesn't have to go to war with us. They just have to move in through channels we already present to them, right? They buy enough farmland. They don't need to trade with us. They just need to trade with themselves. They just need to use the resources that we have left open for them to take.
I do want them to understand what de facto control means, though. And if just because you have a piece of paper over there that says that you own that over there, if you're not there defending it, you don't own it. Someone's going to take it and control it. Now, they probably know that, but good luck. What are you going to do? So they hope for good relations so that we don't say, what, all this crap, all this paperwork's burned in a fire. It's our land. Get out, don't even make a move.
Or they send citizens of China to
that they would try and they would send mercenaries that weren't Chinese if they were going to defend it. They would try and get corporate militants, and they'd be like, hey, it's not Chinese.
Shouldn't it be illegal to sell American soil to an enemy of the United States?
Yes.
Are American farmers buying land in China?
Any foreign government, it should be illegal to sell American land to.
Well, here's another trick too. You want to know something crazy? Let's say you're Russian. You want to be American. Anyone from anywhere can start a company in the United States. You do not need to be a U.S. citizen. So what they'll do is they'll start a company. They'll invest in the company. Then they'll get an H-1B visa to hire themselves, move themselves to the country, and use that as a means of getting visa access. Among other ways, they can become citizens. The truth is, however, if you are rich, you can be a citizen anywhere you want. You literally can just buy citizenship anywhere. It's called economic citizenship.
When it comes to the people buying farmland, I've heard this. The Chinese are buying American farmland. Who is? Is it the CCP directly, or are there private entities?
There's no such thing as private entities.
They all work for the Chinese government. Part of the thing in China is every company works in support of the Chinese military, Chinese government.
So it's the visage of private companies doing it, but then it's just obvious that it's
private companies in China. So you would think of it as a private company, but they are tied to the Chinese government. So therefore, they are in support of the CCP.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say that's how it works. They don't really infringe a lot of after a certain point of income or a certain amount of money that they're generating as a company. Then you have an attaché of the party that becomes part of your company and helps you, advises you on what to do. But underneath that, all the smaller business that goes on in the country, they don't really police it. They don't worry about it. They just kind of say, whatever. But after you have a certain amount of money, they're like, hey, we gotta chat. We have to have someone come and watch over what you're doing.
Is there like a list of American landowners, Chinese citizens that own American land? Is there something where you can put like it's this company, it's this company?
Joe Biden owns a place in Delaware, so let's start there.
A good one.
Oh, good old Joe.
Wouldn't it depend on the state too, like how publicly available the records are? You could probably trace it back, but I'm sure China's not trying to make it obvious, right? Like I don't know if you remember, but a couple months ago there was this execution-style murder at a pot farm in Oklahoma, and 5 Chinese nationals died there.
Oh yeah,
and it's owned by a Chinese company, and the man then fled to Miami. I think he got extradited back to Oklahoma, and he is also a Chinese citizen. Like obviously, and like the local police are like, this was a farm and then it got bought, and just so you know, to the public, like we don't think there's any reason to fear. We don't think it's someone who's going to hurt you. This appears to be an intercompany issue. I mean, they are all tied to China, specifically the Chinese government. You can't operate a business in America without the Chinese government knowing it if you're a Chinese national.
Yep. Do they on the books have control of the company?
It depends, right?
We know, right? If every company in China has I think at a certain level, a CCP liaison officer or whatever inside the company.
Correct, yeah.
And it's very much the same way the Nazis ran things. So I was reading this academic paper on the nationalist socialism of the Nazis and why it was and wasn't. You'll hear the left say they weren't really socialists. They were using that in name only. Well, the way it worked was the communists came and pointed a gun at your mouth and said, this is what we're doing. They made a public announcement. Everyone must do this for the good of the collective. The Nazis would be like, no, people should run their own businesses. But you wouldn't work against our interests, right?
Right.
You're making steel for the war, aren't you?
For the fatherland.
You're not a sympathizer, are you? And oh no. So almost the exact same thing, but coerced in a slightly different way. With China, it's basically that. It's you're not against the people, are you? And so people are working at their behest.
And you see what happened to Jack Ma, the owner of Alibaba, about a year and a half ago. He just disappeared for 3 weeks or something, and then came back, and his other company, which was worth, I don't know the numbers exactly, $500 million, was stripped in half. The value was like, his net worth was like shattered in half.
I mean, this is one of the complaints about TikTok right now. TikTok has at least, pardon?
ByteDance.
That's the company that owns it.
So TikTok's owned
ByteDance.
by ByteDance. Both companies have members of the Chinese Communist Party as part of their board, and then they're a data collection company. And under the 2017 National Intelligence Act in China, if you collect data, you are obligated to share it with the Chinese government and therefore with the CCP. And so if TikTok is collecting American data, it's a big controversy. TikTok says that they're not storing data in China, they're storing it elsewhere, and American people are safe, but by the terms of service, TikTok has access to your phone's location and your browsing history and all kinds of personal data. So if ByteDance and TikTok are not honoring this claim that they're actually securing the data, which I don't know how they could if they're under Chinese national law obligating them to turn over data, then it's an incredible vulnerability that is basically a hole in every American's pocket who has the app, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, Airbnb also was, I think Vivek Ramaswamy, who's awesome, brought that up. And that, I mean, that's like where you're staying, where you're sleeping, what your phone number is, how much money you spent, what your bank account number is. Are they sharing bank account numbers with the CCP?
Sure.
Blizzard, the gaming company, just left China a couple weeks ago. Do you guys know anything about that? I couldn't figure out if it was because they didn't agree with the CCP or if it was too expensive.
And sometimes it's too hard to operate in China. Like I think LinkedIn finally shuttered in China last year because it doesn't work, and the Chinese government is more supportive of apps that are controlled and run by the Chinese government. And so even if they have like a partnership, because they're a different company that's not national China, you have to partner with a company in China to operate there. It just becomes too difficult, right? There's too much bureaucracy, and they'd rather direct everyone to their social media platform.
And the thing is, a lot of companies will have they'll just literally have the police come in and say, "Hey, everyone, give us your smartphones. Give us your laptops, etc." And they'll clone all your stuff, take all your information. In the U.S., we call your what's the word? Intellectual property. We'll just say, "Hey, we need all this stuff because reasons."
Oh, you mean in China that'll happen?
Yeah, for sure. That's why a lot of businesses are left.
And if you question it, you're questioning the Chinese Communist Party.
Right. And you wouldn't be a counter-revolutionary, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
Ah, I see. Fortunately, I don't have to answer that question.
Isn't it pathetic, though, what Americans are willing to give up in exchange for some entertainment?
Man, it is the convenience, dude.
Just in exchange for TikTok. Oh, it's entertaining. And then you tell them, they're watching everything you're doing. Every keystroke is monitored. They know, like you said, do they know your bank account information? Probably. Don't know, but they might. But yeah, but the videos are funny.
But everyone I know is on it. Like, especially with young people, that's the pressure, right?
But
you don't want to miss the cool thing.
This is how we think nowadays. Like, but it's a fun app, so whatever. It's never gonna affect me.
And there's, I think, a state of mind that like if you get famous, then you're set for life financially, which is not necessarily untrue. If you do it right and you use fame properly, people will support you if you're good, if you're cool. But like, that's terrifying that people are willing to sell out their security for fame. And like, it's almost like,
I think because it's intangible, right? If I told you if you open TikTok, someone's going to come punch you in the face, you'd be like, yeah, I probably won't open TikTok. But the idea that someone would steal your private data and that this would be used to threaten national security, like, it just becomes sort of too meta for a 16-year-old who's like, but my friend posted this video.
It hasn't happened yet. There's been no overt act of war regarding human data collection that we've seen yet. I think after that happens, if there is like a genetic, like they make tailored, gene weapons that people that gave to 23andMe, now they have all their genetic code and they can kill a certain amount of peoples because they have their genetics, then people will be like, whoa, 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 whoa.
But then it's too late. And that's why you need people to be proactive about like being careful about the data that they give to the world. And TikTok is an easy way to get people to say like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Also, giving false data is better than giving no data in a lot of instances, because then you can throw them off the trail.
Mm-hmm. Would you let your kids on TikTok? They're probably
absolutely not. No. Matter of fact, my son just turned 13, and he's been asking for an iPhone since he was 11. My friends have iPhones. I said, okay. I said, well, what are you going to do on the iPhone that you can't do on your Apple Watch? Because the Apple Watch is for him to text me if he's at a baseball practice or something, or your iPad, which you play games on, or your Chromebook, which is a little computer they get at school to do their studies on. I go, what are you going to do with an iPhone that you can't do on your Chromebook, iPad, or Apple Watch? He looked at me and he went, probably nothing, I guess. I said, okay, well, when you're 13, we'll talk about it. Well, man, it just drove him crazy. But when he turned 13, I made him sign a contract with me.
What was
on
the contract?
The phone. There's 2 pages, and it was a lot. But I said, I, John Rich, your father, am loaning you this iPhone because I purchased it, so it's mine. I'm loaning it to you, and here are the rules and stipulations for you to maintain the phone. And so it goes in, and one of the things is you're not allowed to download any social media apps, absolutely none. If I find one social media app, I repossess the phone. I said, I am mirroring your phone. So I put an app in his phone and an app in my phone and his mother's phone, where anything that comes in and out of his phone, we see it.
Wow.
And I said, that's for your own protection, because if some bad guy, or you think it's not a bad guy, or whatever, somebody you don't know is trying to get in touch with you, I'm going to see it, and I'm going to find it and keep it from happening, and so on and so forth. And he's been tight with it, But I think teaching your kids, again, your point earlier, a lot of kids don't have good parents, unfortunately. But I try to be a good parent. I told my son, everything evil on the face of God's earth is on the other side of this phone. Every bad guy in the world, people that I would shoot if they came in our front door, there's millions of them on the other side of this phone, and they want to get you.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.